Our world, it is changing in extraordinary ways. Digital technologies are rewriting the future. Innovations are changing how we work, how we live, and how we play. Our world is extraordinary, but it's also fragile. We're in the grips of a global pandemic that threatens lives and livelihoods. The world is not on track to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. 700 million people live in extreme poverty. Global temperatures are on course to rise 3.5 degrees Celsius this century. And if we continue as we are, it will take 257 years to close the economic gender gap. Companies now face growing pressure to radically rethink their role in society. Investors, consumers, and employees want to see more ambition, more action. To chart this new course, we need a new type of business leader. One who's willing to make the long-term sustainability of our world a top priority. Now is the time to raise your ambition for people, planet, and prosperity. We must leave no one behind. After all, business cannot thrive in a world of inequality and unrest.
Hi, my name is Kurt Harrison, and I'm a partner with the global executive search firm Reynolds Associates. As you just saw in the preceding video, unfortunately, the world is not on track to achieve the 17 Sustainable Development Goals identified by the UN Global Compact by 2030. The only way that we're going to get there is if business partners with governments around the world to achieve these targets. And to do that, businesses are going to have to identify the next generation of sustainable leadership. And that's what we're here to talk about today. We have seen CEOs and leaders around the world respond to the simultaneous global crises of COVID-19, racial injustice, and climate change by all making a series of proclamations to move the world forward in a sustainable context. So there is a definitive business case for sustainable leadership to be embedded in these organizations in order to actually achieve this. There is pressure coming from multiple stakeholders on all of these organizations around the world to truly embed sustainability into their long-term corporate strategies. This pressure is coming from investors, all of whom are demanding a crisp and clear articulation of how sustainability permeates an organization's corporate culture, corporate strategy, and investment strategy. The pressure is coming from the consumers. These individuals want to be sure that the products that they're buying or investing in are derived from a very sustainable supply chain, because the brand equity around this is crucial for that product placement. Employees are demanding it. You will not be able to attract and retain best-in-class, next-generation talent if they don't feel they're working for a mission-driven organization pursuing the dual mandates of purpose as well as profit. And finally, the pressure is coming from governments and regulatory bodies around the world who are forcing companies to adapt their practices to lead to a more sustainable future. However, there is a massive gap between rhetoric and reality. A recent survey conducted by the United Nations Global Compact and Accenture found that 92% of CEOs believe that the integration of sustainability is going to be crucial to their long-term business success. However, less than half of those very same CEOs are actually integrating sustainability into their business operations, and only 21% of those CEOs believe that business is doing its part in leading the world to a more sustainable future. So basically, sustainability to date has not been embedded into leadership culture or expectations. Through our own proprietary research here at Reynolds Associates, we looked at 4,000 position specifications for roles that we had recruited for. What we found was only 15% of those specifications made any mention whatsoever of sustainability, and only 4% mentioned sustainability as a required competency. Clearly, we can and must do better. And so that led us to engage with the United Nations Global Compact on a partnership to determine leadership for the decade of action. We have 10 years between now and 2030 for the world to implement the 17 Sustainable Development Goals identified by the UN Global Compact. What we've realized is that we are not in a position to get there and to achieve those goals unless we change the way the world is led in a business context. And so we did a pioneering study with the UN Global Compact to analyze 55 CEOs, C-suite leaders, and board directors of major global companies who we believe have already exhibited the sustainability function as a core part of their investment and corporate strategy. What we found was very, very interesting. First of all, of these 55 leaders who were pre-selected because of their sustainability credentials, less than half were actually born believers in this regard. 43% became convinced during the course of their careers, and 12% actually had a watershed moment, which really woke them to the idea of how important this was going forward. That's great news for us, because what it means is over half of the CEOs that we studied came to this over time, which means that there is a whole pool of talent out there awaiting to be convinced or awoken to the importance of sustainability from a corporate perspective. As we dug further into the backgrounds of these sustainable leaders, we found some very interesting traits that were very common to the subset that we had studied. Sustainable leaders are 3 times more likely to have worked on 2 or more continents around the world. These are true citizens of the world who incorporate a global perspective into their individual and corporate strategies. 1 in 3 of these leaders had actually worked in the global south, as compared to 1 in 10 of leaders outside of this group. So again, a very multidimensional global corporate citizenry. And all of these leaders were twice as likely to have worked in 2 or more functions during the course of their careers. They have broad-based, multivariate experiences which contribute to a very holistic view of corporate strategy, both within and without their industry. What this led us to do was to identify the actual traits and attributes that are markers and hallmarks of sustainable leaders around the world. Our study found that there are 4 crucial dimensions that are truly attributable to a sustainable mindset. The first is multi-level systems thinking. These individuals, again, incorporate a global perspective into their individual, corporate, or investment strategies. They're able to take in perspectives from around the world and make them a key part of their own personal strategy. They're not overly focused on their particular company, their particular industry, or even their region, but instead incorporate broader themes from around the world to develop a more holistic corporate strategy. Second, they are very inclusive leaders. These individuals don't manage people, they include people. They are very consensus-oriented and work toward incorporating multiple points of view from a variety of stakeholders into their finalized corporate strategy. These individuals are also transformational. Everyone talks about transformation. It's very hard to deliver upon. But these individuals have a track record for disruption, innovation, and transformation. They ask the question, why can't we do it differently? And won't accept the answer, that's how we've always done it. So these individuals actively pursue new innovative solutions for their corporations. And finally, the long-term activation mindset. These people are highly focused on long-term outcomes. They are willing to make unpopular short-term decisions that will generate long-term benefits for the organization. So long-term activation, which goes hand in hand with the concept of sustainability, is a key dimension for sustainable business leaders. So once we determined what the hallmarks were of a sustainable business leader, the next challenge became, how do you embed sustainability into your leadership culture? In order for organizations to drive the transformation needed to integrate sustainability, they must embed it into the culture of the organization. But how do you do this? First, it goes down to who you select to be on that track for leadership potential within the organization. It's crucial that current leaders identify the next generation of leaders as people who are exhibiting a sustainable mindset and have a track record of innovation, disruption, and transformation. It's crucial that those individuals are incorporated into the talent succession plan for these organizations. The next piece is actually developing a formalized succession plan in which you benchmark both internal as well as external candidates, once again, maintaining sustainability as a key feature of this assessment. Finally, you must reward these individuals. As we all know, you get what you measure and you get what you pay for. If you decide to reward executives who exhibit sustainability as a core competency and mindset and who lead that transformation of their organizations, you're going to get a much more innovative culture and a much more sustainable corporate strategy going forward. And finally, you must develop these leaders. Every organization has the next generation of rising stars, but many of them will still be on their sustainability journey. So the organization needs to mentor them, develop them, foster the importance of sustainability in terms of how these individuals approach their day-to-day business today and in the future, because that's going to be the crucial pool of development for the next generation of the organization's leaders. As you can see, we are very excited about the next generation of sustainable leadership here at Russell Reynolds Associates. And if you think about it, our firm and our industry is uniquely well positioned to literally change the way the world is led. If we decide that sustainable mindsets are crucial key competencies for any candidate who wants to be considered as a potential CEO, a C-suite leader, or a board director going forward, we can literally change the way the world is led and get us on the track to achieving the SDGs by 2030. We hope you'll join us on this journey.